Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Check Your Minimap Podcast. I'm your host, Threshold Breaker, but call me THB, and I'm joined by Ansem.
Hey guys.
Today we'll be discussing Call of Duty Black Ops 3, specifically pre-order, standard edition, deluxe edition, the trailer, theatrical trailer with in-game footage, beta signups, graphical improvements, and game style and pace. Alright, so if you pre-order the game, you get access to beta. The standard edition of the game is $59.99 USD, probably a little bit more after taxes. You get the base game as the information stands now. You just get the base game. If you do pre-order, like I said, you get access to the beta. The digital deluxe version of the game is actually $99.99, and it's $109.98 USD on Steam after taxes. So if you pre-order it, get access to the beta. Same thing with the digital deluxe edition. It includes the full base game, season pass, which is 4 DLC packs, not 4 maps, but 4 DLC packs. And Steam actually states there's more digital content to be announced at a later date, so you could possibly get more with this digital deluxe edition of Call of Duty Black Ops 3.
So what they're saying is basically there could be a 5th or 6th DLC maybe. They just haven't released that kind of information.
Or they could give you a gun skin, or like an exosuit skin, or something to that degree. So this is a little bit of a synopsis of the game. So it's 50 years into the future. New Black Ops soldier emerges, and really the line between our own humanity and the cutting military robotics is blurred. So this isn't really a brand new topic, but the game so far it's kind of setting up for a darker and deeper tone than the previous installments, and really speaks to in my opinion, it speaks to the moral dilemma of how far are people willing to go in the pursuit of perfection.
I'm actually kind of interested. I kind of like the fact that the digital deluxe is not as expensive as some digital deluxes. I'm liking the fact that there's possibly more DLC to be had. I mean, it's quite a good teaser, and really, if you're going to try to sell me on something, I'm liking how they set this up so far. I'm a little iffy on that beta behind the pre-order, though.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't like when games do that. I don't understand the need to do that, because to me, if you're not somebody that's interested in buying the game for the full amount, and by the way, guys, this is what you're doing. I'm just trying to make people understand this. You're buying a game, you're getting a guaranteed spot, which more than likely you would get anyway into beta. I don't think there's ever been a beta that I've signed up for that I haven't gotten access to. I think developers are very willing to allow as many people as possible access to their betas.
Yeah, no, it's typically closed alphas and open betas.
Yeah, it's a point I don't get. I don't understand this. I mean, if it was me and like you're really trying to be innovative and put forth new ideas, which they said they had with the gameplay, and we'll get into that in a second, and graphical improvements as well, because they had an extra year of development to craft this game. Why wouldn't you want it open to everybody before they purchase the game? Have them make their own decisions instead of kind of locking them in?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, there's that. I'm not sure. Also, I don't know what the embargo is going to be. Obviously, this is going to be a closed beta for pre-order people only. I don't know if there will be any embargoes. I'm assuming not, so we're going to be able to get some teaser stuff. But watching stuff on YouTube only makes you want to buy so much. Actually getting a taste for that game could bring some people that are on the fence over into pre-ordering, being like, all right, look, I pre-order and I get all this extra stuff. All right, but because they haven't been able to have that beta experience, they're not necessarily ready to do it.
Right. I mean, I think I don't like how they're kind of indirectly making you have form your own decision, because you've already pre-purchased the game, and now it's like, oh, well, you get access to play the game before you have the game, and like you're saying, is that person gonna get their full amount of money back?
No, and I believe that it depends. I'm assuming where you go. Like, you go to GameStop and you pre-order a game, you put $5 down, you will never see that $5 again.
Yeah, so what is that, to cover the tax, right?
I believe so. You can pay a little bit down, and then you pay the rest later. But basically, they're guaranteeing $5 off of you. They, of course, turn around and sell your game if you don't come back and pick it up, etc., etc., etc. But you're at least paying $5 to get into this beta, where they shouldn't be doing that. They should go ahead and have it open so that they can entice me. You know, if I had access to this beta and I got to play it because I'm going to do, one of these podcasts on it, maybe I would buy the game. As it stands, because of previous things that we've talked about on previous podcasts about pre-orderings, I won't pre-order another game. If they gave me a beta and they really, really got my goat, maybe I would do it. I'm not going to pre-order just to get a beta. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's backwards. It's really silly. I don't understand why people feel the need to do that. I just want to, I kind of talked that to get to death, really. The trailer. I like the trailer, but for God's sake, wrong song. I don't like that the song with the trailer. For me, it was just like they could have went a different way.
I'll let them have the song, and yes, they can cut a very great graphical trailer. It looked very nice, but when you start putting gunshots to musical rhythm, you're doing it wrong.
So in the trailer, right, we kind of talked about the different versions of the game coming out. There's limited information as it stands right now because the game comes out in November 6th to be precise of 2015. As it stands right now, that could change depending on if they have to do more development on the game or what have you. So the trailer, it has a good balance to me. It has a good balance of in-game play and theatrical trailer clips. I do think the developers wanted to hit home, like, okay, this is movie kind of quality, and this is what you're going to see as you play the game.
They can cut a very good graphical trailer. It took me a second to realize they had swapped from theatrical to actual in-game, and I was only able to really pick it up because you could see a graphical change. But the thing that really gave it away was the soldier movement. But for the first nanosecond or so, when you first swap over, I didn't necessarily notice right away because they have very good graphics.
Yeah, they do, and I'd like to kind of get into that. I was reading an article on, I believe the site's called mpfirst.com, and studio head Mark Lamia, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, goes on to state that the 3 years development cycle allowed game engineers to rework the game's graphical engine. To capture, their goal was to capture the Call of Duty's new game style and action with new deferred render, lighting, and effect systems. One thing Mark said, who's the head of the studio, I wanted to bring back just those insane battles that only Call of Duty could do. He goes on to say there is so much stuff going on that we simply could not render all that at the quality of 60 frames per second. You just can't do that unless you do an overhaul of the entire system. Excuse me. And one thing to add that I found particularly interesting was also, the game on PS4 will run at 60 FPS at 1080p. Now, I don't know if that was a thing before with Black Ops 2. And here's the kicker that I think you'll probably be interested in. The PC version can be played on 4K resolution and go beyond 60 FPS. I really want to see if that holds true when this game gets released.
So they're saying that they're trying to do 4K at 144, possibly?
I think that's kind of what they're hinting at.
If they can do that, they're going to set a bar that is going to be very entertaining to watch other companies try to hop.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty damn interesting. I'm not super technical when it comes to resolution and refresh rate and all that stuff, but that kind of interests me because they were in the depths, so to speak, with their graphical capability. What was it, 2 to 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting if they could really, like you said, that's going to really set a bar for other games to kind of follow suit.
Well, let's face it, the Frostbite engine for Battlefield will never hold to that. Not as Frostbite 3. Frostbite 3 can't do that. There's no way. They'll have to make Frostbite 4, and I'm assuming that's what they're going to have to do. Battlefront, I believe they still work with the Frostbite engine. I believe it's Frostbite 3. But once again, not going to be able to really manage that. I mean, the fact is they overhauled this engine so much that they have 60 frames a second at 1080p on PS4. That is very difficult. Battlefield Hardline, even with all of the stuff that they put in to make PS4 so great, was 900p, not 1080, 900. So
that's a thing.
well, yeah, it's basically they could upscale it only so much. Well, not upscale. They could only get the resolution so high. It was 900p scaled to 1080p, which it means it's not real 1080p. But the fact is 60 frames 1080p on a PS4 also means that there is no PS3 version. There's just no way you could put something that powerful in a PS3.
Right. I just wanted to touch on to what you were saying. I was on CTE today, and on Battlefield 4 CTE today, and I was in, I think it was TDM Domination, and I was looking at the refresh rate because that's something that's always important to me. Like, as you know, it takes me a while because I don't have a solid state drive. I know I'm a casual. Don't have a solid state drive, and it didn't dip. Like, it stuck at 60 frames per second as I was loading. Normally, it goes all over the place because it's trying to load the map. It stayed at 60, and then during the gameplay, mind you guys, I've said this before. I have a GTX 970. Oh, sorry, 980. And it didn't change. Like, it had good constant frames, which is surprising because a lot of the times Battlefield is kind of occasionally it gets all over the place, but especially when it was loading, it didn't jump all around. That's really when it jumps. So it's interesting the changes that they've made in CTE so far, and the game played really, really smoothly.
Okay, so
I just brought that up because we're talking about refresh rates and resolutions and stuff to that degree.
Well, yeah, but
frames
what
per
you're
second,
saying also makes me wonder because people like to exaggerate. And so, while yes, you can get 1080p 60 frames on PS4, you can get 4K with 60 frames on PC. Is it going to hold though, or is that max? Like, I didn't even think about that until you started talking about it. Like, okay, you could play 4K at 60 frames per second, but as soon as a grenade goes off, you're gonna drop to 2 frames a second. Like,
right?
That makes me wonder. Like, if at 4K, can you hold steady at 60 frames or go higher? No problem.
Right. And if you go higher, how good is your frames per second going to be?
Well, yeah, because if you go ahead and put your frame lock at 144, because you have a 144 hertz monitor, and grenades go off and you suddenly dip down to 60, you're going to notice the difference. Now, if you lock it at 60, though, and you go ahead and play at 60 FPS because you can hold at 60 FPS, then all right, go ahead and do that. You will never see a frame dip because you have a computer that's powerful enough to do it. But yeah, it makes me wonder if that's embellished or well, not embellished, but exaggerated by the fact that you can hold steady at that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I was very impressed. Like, I know this podcast, guys, is definitely about Call of Duty Black Ops 3. But I was very impressed with that feature brought into Battlefield 4 in CTE. It's pretty impressive. All right, well, back to Call of Duty, even though we're kind of doing a back and forth here of comparisons, but it is important to kind of recognize that, the refresh rate, the frames per second, the resolution at which your game is going to play, because it's all about experience. It's all about building on experience.
Yeah, and one of the facts is Battlefield is one of Call of Duty's biggest competitors. It's basically the two main titles, and you just compare them to each other because that's who they're fighting against.
Besides themselves. But all right. So game style and pace of Call of Duty Black Ops 3. So there's new movement which consists of thrust jumping, power sliding, and wall running. So these could actually add to different gameplay styles, and so one of the things I was going over was it's possible to do both chain movements and have boots on ground and be effective. So like if you don't do exactly what they've implemented in the game, you're okay. They're kind of saying, well, we don't know why you wouldn't want to do those, but you're okay if you want to play your style. Also, the other thing that the developers considered, and I'm taking this from various articles I read over the internet, where map designs and movements apparently are going to go hand in hand on this one. We'll see how true that is. But developers didn't want moves to be planned. I'm paraphrasing, but they didn't want them to be planned. They wanted them to feel as natural as possible. So they didn't want to set up like the chain movements and make them feel like there's this long corridor or something like that, and you have to go through there to get to X point. They wanted them to feel as natural as possible, like the player was actually coming up with their movements.
So they're trying to make their maps as open to diversity as possible so that people can pull off those epic one-time moves where they just do something incredible and never can do it again, which is part of the reason why we play these games, is for those 1 in a million chance that you actually manage to pull something crazy off.
Yeah, I think they want that. I think they want diversity of play. I think you're spot on with that. And I think they really want people to have an enjoyable experience with this new style of gameplay that they've added, and not consider it a hindrance, but a positive feature that's been added to the new installment of the game.
Well, yeah, and it should help with new players. I mean, say you don't pre-order, say you don't play beta, you don't get used to it, say you don't buy it right away, you're waiting for your favorite YouTuber to do the review, and you're like, okay, the review's done, seems alright, I'm going to go ahead and buy it. And you come into these levels, if they're made up so that you can flow naturally through them, then that means that you're not going to necessarily deal with the guy who found the perfect corner to camp, or the guy who knows how to sprint on the corridor just right so he can headshot you while you can't do anything about it. I mean, if it's built like that, then the brand new kid may have a chance at playing it and enjoy his time.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, I mean, Ansem, do you have anything additionally to add? Like, specific wants? Like, is this a game that you think is possibly going to bring you to the series? I'm not going to say bring you back, because...
No, I've never played them. The fact is I have no intention of pre-ordering this game, and I may never play it, but I will at least keep an eye on it. It does seem like a decent game, and as much as I don't play them, it doesn't mean that I don't keep in contact with them at least a little. And so I'm going to watch. We'll see. Battlefield's been doing his lovely thing, so maybe there's a transition needed to be had, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't have as much information as I'd like on the game yet, I don't think I'm going to go forward and pre-order it just yet. I mean, there's some time. We got some time to see what else comes out about the game. More information. It'll definitely make me decide on what I want to do. But they got an interesting business model. I can't fault them on that. I mean, Digital Deluxe seems kind of appealing.
Well, yeah, no. I'm not saying that, like I said at the very beginning, I like the way they did their beginning setup. The way that they did their business model is, I seriously like it. I mean, obviously, I'm bitter on the previous business model of Battlefield, and so they pissed me off, and now I want a better one. And this is what they gave me. Like, that really entices me to keep track of a game that normally I would just be like, oh, it's Call of Duty, whatever.
Yeah. But to my point, I don't agree with the pre-order thing. The fact that you can't get beta otherwise, unless
that's the only thing I disagree. Otherwise,
yeah.
their pre-order and just general Digital Deluxe seems like totally worth it. I mean, it's $10 cheaper. It's possibly got extra content. I mean, voila, it's everything anybody could want, minus the beta part.
Yeah. All right, guys. So again, my name is THB. I'd like to thank Ansem for contributing to the podcast. If you like the conversation or would just want to contribute your 2 cents about the specific subjects, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast and continue to listen to us as this first season goes on. We will see you guys in the next episode.
Have a good one, guys.